The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Gray stepped onto the speaking platform. His aged, silver skin gleamed under the soft light of 3 moons shining through the crystal dome above. The ancient alien's 4 eyes blinked slowly as he surveyed the assembled representatives of 200 spacefaring civilizations. "Honorable members of the Council," his voice echoed through the chamber, "I come before you today with a warning of utmost importance. Our deep space scouts have discovered a new species on a planet they call Earth." Murmurs filled the chamber. Another primitive species discovery was hardly worth an emergency session. "I see your dismissal," Ambassador Gray continued, raising one of his 3-fingered hands. "You think this is just another primitive race to either guide or conquer. You are wrong, dangerously wrong." The head counselor, a massive being covered in iridescent scales, leaned forward. "Explain yourself, Ambassador. Our reports show these humans barely have spaceflight. They haven't even colonized their own moon permanently." A hollow laugh escaped Gray's throat. "Ah, yes, their technology level. Tell me, head counselor, how many of our species evolved on a death world?" The chamber grew quieter. Death worlds were rare, planets so hostile that developing intelligence there seemed impossible. "By our classification," Gray continued, "Earth is a death world. Extreme temperature variations, deadly weather patterns, aggressive predators, and constant natural disasters. Yet humans not only survived, they thrived." He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared, showing various scenes from Earth. "Look carefully. These humans walk in both burning deserts and frozen wastelands. They swim in dangerous waters and climb mountains where the air is too thin for breathing. Their bodies can heal from injuries that would kill most species, and their endurance. They can literally chase prey until it drops from exhaustion." One of the younger council members, a representative from the warrior dominators, snorted. "They sound like simple savages. Strong, perhaps, but no match for our technology." Ambassador Gray's expression darkened. "Let me tell you what happened when I first encountered humans. 50 of their planetary cycles ago, my research ship crashed on Earth. I expected to die. Instead, a group of humans found me. But instead of killing me, as most primitive species would, they helped me. They hid me from their authorities, treated my injuries, and even started learning my language." The hologram changed to show humans using various tools and weapons. "While I was there, I watched them. They are not just strong. They are incredibly creative. Give a human a tool, and within days, they'll find 10 different ways to use it. Show them a problem, and they'll solve it in ways we'd never imagine. But they fight among themselves." Another council member shouted. "Yes," Gray nodded, "they do. And that's what makes them even more dangerous. Think about it. A species that regularly fights itself, constantly developing new weapons and tactics, all while surviving on a death world. What do you think will happen if someone attacks them from outside?" The chamber erupted in discussion. Gray waited patiently for the noise to die down. "I've spent years studying their history," he continued. "Every time a stronger force has tried to conquer them, they unite. They adapt. They take their enemy's weapons and turn them against them. And they never, ever give up." The Dominator representative stood up. "You waste our time with fairy tales, old one. These humans sound like perfect slaves for our empire. We will show you how easily they break." Ambassador Gray shook his head sadly. "I was afraid someone would say that. Let me be clear. If any of you attack Earth, you will fail. But more than that, you will have created something far more dangerous than a simple enemy. You will have given humans a reason to unite, a reason to turn their endless creativity toward the stars. And when they come for you, and they will come for you, all your advanced technology won't save you." As the chamber erupted in angry shouts and arguments, Gray stepped down from the platform. Under his breath, he whispered, "I try to warn them. May the stars help anyone foolish enough to attack Earth." 3 months after Ambassador Gray's warning, the Dominators launched their first attack on Earth. Their commander, Lord Vex, had chosen a simple strategy: send a small force to crush human resistance quickly and establish dominance. As his invasion fleet of 20 warships approached Earth's orbit, he felt nothing but confidence. Such primitive defenses, Lord Vex laughed, watching Earth's satellites on his command screen. They don't even have proper energy shields. His crew nodded in agreement, their metal armor gleaming under the bridge lights. The first sign that something was wrong came when half of their communication systems suddenly stopped working. Earth's militaries had quickly figured out how to jam alien signals. Impossible, Lord Vex muttered, staring at his failing systems. They couldn't have decoded our technology so fast. The second surprise came when Earth's supposedly primitive satellites revealed themselves to be weapon platforms. Hundreds of missiles launched simultaneously, their paths unpredictable and chaotic. The Dominator ships, expecting simple ballistic trajectories, found their automated defense systems confused by the missiles' erratic movements. 3 ships exploded before they could react. Launch fighters, Lord Vex ordered, his confidence turning to anger. Show these primitives what real space combat looks like. The Dominator fighters streaked toward Earth, their plasma weapons ready. But they weren't prepared for what happened next. Earth's atmosphere, thick, turbulent, and full of weather patterns, proved to be a nightmare for the alien craft. Several fighters broke apart, unable to handle the atmospheric stresses their computers had never been programmed for. And then they met Earth's air forces. Human pilots, experienced in fighting in their planet's challenging atmosphere, turned the sky into a killing field. What the human aircraft lacked in technology, they made up for with skill and daring. They used clouds for cover, led alien fighters into storms, and demonstrated maneuvers that the Dominator's computers insisted were impossible. "My lord," his second-in-command reported, panic in his voice, "we've lost 60% of our fighters." Lord Vex slammed his fist on his command console. "Land the ground forces. These humans can't possibly match our armor and weapons on the ground." It was his final mistake. The ground assault landed in multiple locations, expecting quick victories. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that understood something the Dominators had forgotten after centuries of easy conquests: the art of adaptation. Human military forces didn't try to match the aliens head-on. Instead, they used their knowledge of Earth's terrain. Alien tanks found themselves stuck in swamps or buried in avalanches. Infantry units were ambushed in urban areas where their advanced sensors were confused by the chaos of human cities. And the humans learned fast. Every time a Dominator weapon was captured, human scientists immediately began taking it apart, understanding it, improving it. Within days, the invaders faced their own technology turned against them, modified in ways their designers had never imagined. In his command ship, Lord Vex watched in horror as his invasion force was systematically destroyed. "How?" he demanded. "How are they doing this?" The answer came from an unexpected radio transmission, broadcasting on all frequencies in perfect Dominator language. You should have listened to Ambassador Gray. A massive barrage of missiles, now modified with captured alien technology, struck the remaining Dominator ships. Lord Vex had time for one final message to the Dominator Empire before his ship exploded: "Don't underestimate Earth." On the ground, human forces surrounded the last remaining alien units. Instead of killing them, they took prisoners, asking questions, learning everything they could about their would-be conquerors. In the aftermath, Earth's nations did something the Dominators hadn't expected. They united. The alien threat had given humanity a common enemy, a common purpose. Military leaders and scientists from around the world shared information and resources. As Earth's governments established a unified space defense force, using captured alien technology as a foundation, a simple message was broadcast into space in all known alien languages: "We didn't start this fight, but we will finish it. Earth is not your conquest, it's your warning." In the Galactic Council, Ambassador Gray watched the reports of the Dominator's defeat with a sad smile. "I warned them," he said softly. "And this is only the beginning." 1 month after defeating the first Dominator invasion, Earth was changing faster than anyone could have imagined. The captured alien ships and technology had opened up new possibilities that humans eagerly explored. In a massive underground facility in the mountains, Dr. Tom Miller walked beside General Roberts, showing him their latest discoveries. The hallway was filled with pieces of alien technology, each being studied by teams of scientists from different countries. "It's amazing, General," Dr. Miller said, pointing to a dismantled alien engine. "Their technology isn't actually that complicated. They just stopped improving it centuries ago. They got comfortable." The general nodded, watching as researchers combined human and alien tech. "And we're not comfortable, are we, Doctor?" "Not even close," Tom smiled. "Look at this." He led the general to a testing chamber where a captured alien tank stood next to its human-modified version. "Their armor is strong, but it can't handle extreme temperatures. So we added our own heat shielding. Now it works in any environment." In another part of the facility, engineers were redesigning alien weapons. The Dominator's energy rifles were powerful, but wasted too much power. Human engineers fixed this by adding simple cooling systems and power regulators, making them twice as efficient. "The Dominators think in straight lines," one engineer explained to her team. "If something works, they just keep using it. But we're asking questions they never thought to ask. How can we make it better? What if we try something new?" Above the Earth, construction teams were already building the planet's first real space defense network. They used the stolen alien technology as a base, but improved it with human innovations. The new satellites could hide from enemy sensors, something the Dominators had never thought necessary. "We're not just copying their technology," Admiral Wilson told the United Earth Defense Council. "We're making it our own." He showed them images of the new ships being built in secret facilities worldwide. These vessels combine alien tech with human creativity. They can operate in any environment, from space to underwater. But the biggest change was in how humans work together. Old enemies became allies, sharing resources and knowledge. Scientists who once competed now collaborated. Military forces that had opposed each other for centuries now trained together. In a large conference room, representatives from every major nation met to discuss the latest developments. Maps and screens covered the walls, showing Earth's new defenses and the locations of alien tech research centers. "The Dominators thought their first attack would break us," the council leader said, addressing the room. "Instead, it united us. Every day, we grow stronger, but we know they'll return. And next time, they'll come with a bigger force." A young scientist raised her hand. "We found something interesting in their computer systems," she said. "The Dominators have been conquering other species for centuries. Many of these species hate them, but are too afraid to fight back." The room grew quiet as everyone understood what this meant. Earth wasn't just defending itself. It could become a symbol of resistance for other enslaved species. "We should reach out to these other races," suggested a military commander. "The Dominators aren't just our enemy. They're everyone's enemy." Ambassador Gray, who had been quietly watching from a corner, finally spoke. "Be careful," he warned. "The Dominators will see any attempt to contact their subjects as an act of war." The council leader stood up, determination in his eyes. "They already made this a war when they attacked us. We won't start a fight, but we'll be ready to finish it. And we'll help anyone else who wants to be free." The Dominator Empire's supreme commander slammed his fist on the table, causing holograms to flicker. "Unacceptable," he roared. "A primitive species does not humiliate us and live to tell about it." His response to Earth's defiance was massive. A fleet of 500 warships, the largest invasion force assembled in 50 years. This time, they would crush the humans completely. Earth's new defense systems detected the approaching fleet 3 days before their arrival. In the United Earth Defense Headquarters, alarms blared as officers rushed to their stations. They brought their whole army this time, General Roberts said, studying the tactical display. But instead of fear, there was a hint of satisfaction in his voice. Just as we expected. The past 3 months of preparation were about to be tested. Earth's defenders had studied every piece of Dominator technology, every battle tactic, and every weakness. They were ready. As the Dominator fleet approached, they found a seemingly empty space around Earth. Their long-range scans showed minimal defenses, just a few satellites and small patrol ships. The humans have hidden their forces, the Dominator fleet commander growled. No matter. Begin the attack pattern. But humans had learned something the Dominators had forgotten long ago, the art of surprise. As the alien fleet moved closer, Earth's true defenses revealed themselves. Hundreds of stealth satellites, invisible to Dominator sensors, powered up simultaneously. The satellites didn't fire normal weapons. Instead, they released waves of electromagnetic pulses, specifically designed to target weaknesses in Dominator shield systems. Dozens of enemy ships suddenly lost power, their crews panicking as systems failed. Impossible, the fleet commander shouted. Their technology was primitive just months ago. The human response came from every radio channel. We learn fast. Earth's new hybrid ships emerged from hiding spots behind the moon and in Earth's magnetic field. They were smaller than Dominator vessels, but far more maneuverable. While Dominator ships could only fight in space, human vessels were designed to operate anywhere, space, atmosphere, even underwater. The battle that followed showed just how much humanity had learned. Human pilots used Earth's gravity to slingshot their ships at impossible speeds. They drove Dominator vessels into the atmosphere, where the aliens' rigid battle formations fell apart in the face of Earth's chaotic weather. They're not following any known combat patterns, a Dominator tactician reported nervously. Every ship is fighting differently. That was humanity's greatest strength, unpredictability. While Dominator ships all followed the same tactics they used for centuries, every human captain was free to try new strategies. Some human ships deliberately took hits on reinforced shields, letting the enemy think they were damaged, only to suddenly turn and strike from unexpected angles. Others worked in small teams, using complex maneuvers that confused Dominator targeting systems. But the biggest surprise came when the Dominators launched their ground invasion. As their troops landed, they found Earth's surface was nothing like their intelligence reports. Humans had spent months preparing the battlefield. Cities that appeared defenseless on scans had underground bunker networks. Flat plains concealed powerful weapons. Even Earth's weather had been turned into a weapon. Human scientists had learned to control local weather patterns, creating storms that disrupted Dominator communications. "Watch this," Dr. Miller told General Roberts as they observed from the command center. He pressed a button, and hundreds of small drones rose from hidden launch sites. These weren't weapons. They were carrying a special virus designed to infect Dominator combat suits. Within hours, alien ground forces found their advanced armor, either shutting down or playing loud human music they couldn't turn off. It was psychological warfare at its finest. The Dominator's Supreme Commander watched in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart by the very primitives they'd come to conquer. His last transmission to the Empire was cut short as his flagship exploded, victim of a precisely targeted human strike. As the remaining Dominator ships fled, leaving their ground forces stranded, Earth's defenders didn't celebrate. They knew this was just the beginning. "Send the message," General Roberts ordered. On every frequency, in every known alien language, Earth broadcast. "To all species enslaved by the Dominators. We have defeated them twice. We can teach you how to fight back. The time for freedom is now." In the chaos of retreat, the Dominators didn't notice small human ships following them, mapping their escape routes and quietly making contact with resistance groups on occupied worlds. The war was about to become much bigger than anyone had expected. Ambassador Gray stood before a secret meeting that would change the galaxy forever. In a hidden base on a distant moon, representatives from 12 enslaved species had gathered to meet with Earth's delegation. The room buzzed with nervous energy and hope. For centuries, we watched the Dominators crush world after world, Gray said, his voice carrying across the chamber. But now, something has changed. Earth has shown us what we forgot, that the Dominators can be beaten. General Roberts stepped forward, activating a holographic display. "We're not just here to fight for ourselves," he said. "We're here to help you fight for your freedom." The alien representatives watched in amazement as humans demonstrated their modified versions of Dominator technology. What impressed them most wasn't the technology itself, but how humans had changed it in ways no one had imagined. A tall, tree-like being spoke up. "My people have been slaves for 300 years. We've forgotten how to fight." "Then we'll help you remember," Dr. Miller replied. She pressed a button, revealing designs for weapons and shields specifically adapted for each species' unique abilities. "You all have strengths the Dominators forced you to forget. We've studied your histories, your biology, your worlds. Every species here has something special that can help defeat them." The revolution began quietly. Human stealth ships, now equipped with better cloaking technology, smuggled weapons and training teams to occupied worlds. They taught other species how to fight, how to adapt, and most importantly, how to think creatively. On the desert world of the crystal-skinned people, human trainers showed them how to use their natural ability to reflect light as a weapon against Dominator sensors. The bird-like people of the gas giants learned to fight in their storms again, using weather patterns that the Dominators could never navigate. The Dominators think technology alone wins wars, a human instructor told a group of resistance fighters. But it's not the weapons that matter most, it's how you use them. The first coordinated strike caught the Dominators completely off guard. On 20 worlds simultaneously, resistance forces rose up. They didn't attack military targets at first. Instead, they struck at communication centers, supply lines, and command posts. Ambassador Gray watched from the command center as reports flooded in. "The Dominators are falling into their old patterns," he observed. "They're responding exactly as they have for centuries." "That's their weakness," General Roberts smiled. "They haven't learned anything new in generations, but we've taught their slaves everything we know about asymmetric warfare." The Dominator Empire, for the first time in its history, faced an enemy it couldn't understand. Every world fought differently. Some used direct attacks, others used guerrilla tactics. Some focused on technology, others used their environments as weapons. On one world, underground creatures collapsed entire Dominator bases into sinkholes. On another, tiny flying beings infiltrated and sabotaged Dominator ships. Each resistance movement had its own style, its own strategies, all supported by human advisors and technology. "This is impossible," a Dominator commander raged as another world slipped from their control. "How are primitives coordinating such complex attacks?" The answer was simple. Humans had created a secret communication network using modified Dominator technology in ways its creators never intended. While the Dominators looked for large military formations, the Resistance moved in small groups, shared information constantly, and struck from unexpected directions. In the hidden base, Dr. Miller showed the alien representatives their latest creation, a device that could shut down Dominator energy weapons remotely. "Your people helped design this," she explained. "We provided the base technology, but each of you added knowledge about how the Dominators operate on your worlds." The tree-like being who had spoken of slavery now stood straighter, its branches glowing with pride. "For the first time in centuries, we're not just fighting, we're winning." As the meeting ended, Ambassador Gray sent a message to Earth. "Phase 5 is succeeding beyond our hopes. The Dominators are losing control. But be ready, they will respond with everything they have." The response from Earth was brief. "Let them come. This time, they'll face all of us together." Across the galaxy, the word spread among oppressed peoples. Earth had kept its promise. The time of the Dominators was ending. A new age of freedom was beginning. The Dominator Empire had finally had enough. Every remaining warship in their fleet gathered for one massive attack. Their target wasn't just Earth anymore. They planned to crush every rebellious world in a single, overwhelming strike. 1,500 ships, General Roberts said, looking at the tactical display in Earth's command center. They're throwing everything they have at us. Ambassador Gray nodded solemnly. This is it, the moment that decides everything. The combined rebel fleet gathered near Earth, human ships flying alongside vessels from 24 freed worlds. Each species had brought their unique strengths to the fight. The crystal being ships could bend light around them. The gas giant dwellers provided living storm clouds as cover. Earth's vessels carried the most advanced hybrid technology ever created. All fleets report ready, the communications officer announced. We're outnumbered 2-1. Numbers aren't everything, Dr. Miller replied from her station. She had worked for months with alien scientists, creating weapons that combined the best of all their technologies. We've got something better than numbers. We've got diversity. The Dominator Supreme Commander's voice boomed across all channels. Surrender now, and some of you may live as slaves. Resist, and every rebel world will burn. The response came from all rebel ships at once, broadcasting in perfect unison. We choose freedom. The battle began with the largest space engagement in galactic history. The Dominator fleet attacked in their traditional formation, a massive wall of ships designed to overwhelm any defense. But this time, their targets didn't behave as expected. The rebel fleet split into smaller groups, each fighting in their own style. Human ships darted between enemy vessels, striking weak points they'd discovered. Crystal ships reflected energy weapons back at their sources. Storm Riders created magnetic whirlpools that trapped Dominator ships. They're not fighting as one fleet, a Dominator officer realized too late. Every squadron is fighting differently. That was humanity's greatest gift to their allies, teaching them to think independently, to fight creatively. The Dominators couldn't predict attacks because every rebel group used different tactics. Dr. Miller activated their secret weapon, a massive electromagnetic pulse designed to exploit a fundamental flaw in Dominator technology. Their shields all used the same basic frequency, she explained, because they never thought anyone would figure it out. The pulse rippled through space. Hundreds of Dominator ships suddenly lost power, their standardized systems failing all at once. But the rebel ships, each using modified hybrid technology, remained unaffected. Push the advantage, General Roberts ordered. All units, attack pattern Omega. The rebel fleet surged forward. Human ships led precision strikes on disabled vessels. Crystal ships created dazzling light shows that confused Dominator targeting systems. Gas giant vessels generated storms that scattered enemy formations. On the Dominator flagship, panic set in. How? The Supreme Commander demanded. How are they beating our superior technology? The answer came from Ambassador Gray himself, broadcasting on all frequencies. Because you never learned that true strength comes from diversity, from creativity, from freedom. You conquered worlds but never learned from them. That was your biggest mistake. The battle turned into a rout. Dominator ships either surrendered or were destroyed. Their rigid tactics, unchanged for centuries, couldn't adapt to the combined creativity of 24 different species fighting together. As the last Dominator ships fled or surrendered, cheers erupted across the rebel fleet. Centuries of oppression had ended in a single day, but the humans and their allies weren't finished yet. Send the message, General Roberts ordered. Throughout the galaxy, every communication system received the same broadcast. The Dominator Empire has fallen. All enslaved worlds are now free. Earth and its allies stand ready to help any world rebuild. The age of conquest is over. The age of cooperation has begun. In the command center, Ambassador Gray turned to his human friends. "You did more than win a battle today," he said. "You showed the galaxy a new way to live, not through conquest, but through cooperation, not through control, but through freedom." Dr. Miller smiled as she watched alien ships celebrating together. "We never wanted an empire," she said. "We just wanted to help everyone be free." "And that," General Roberts added, "is why we won." 1 year after the fall of the Dominator Empire, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. Where once only powerful species had seats, now representatives from all worlds, formerly enslaved and free alike, gathered together. At the center of it all sat Earth's delegation, respected not for their conquest, but for their leadership in bringing freedom to the galaxy. Ambassador Gray stood at the speaking platform, just as he had when he first warned about humans. But this time, he smiled. "My fellow beings," he began, "1 year ago, I stood here warning about the danger of attacking humans. Some listened. Others," he paused, looking at the empty Dominator seats, "learned the hard way. But humanity surprised even me. They didn't just defend themselves. They freed us all." The chamber erupted in applause. Species that had never spoken to each other before now worked together, learning from each other just as humans had taught them. General Roberts, now Earth's chief diplomatic officer, stepped forward. "We're here today not to celebrate our victory," he said, "but to make sure such oppression never happens again." Dr. Miller, who had become the head of the new Galactic Science Alliance, activated a holographic display. It showed the progress of the past year. Former Dominator worlds transformed into free societies, new technologies developed through cooperation, trade routes established between previously isolated planets. "Look at what we've achieved together," she said. "The Crystal People's light-bending technology combined with human computing. The Storm Riders' weather control helping terraform dead worlds. We're stronger together than we ever were apart." A small alien child, from a species that had been enslaved for generations, walked to the center of the chamber. In its hands, it carried a piece of the last Dominator flagship, now transformed into a symbol of peace. "The humans taught us something important," the child said, its voice clear and strong. "They taught us that being different isn't a weakness. It's a strength. That creativity and freedom are more powerful than any weapon." The new Galactic Charter was displayed for all to see. Its first line, written in every known language, read, "All species are born free and equal, with the right to choose their own path among the stars." Ambassador Gray watched as representatives signed the charter one by one. He remembered his crash landing on Earth 50 years ago, how humans had helped him when they could have feared him. They'd never change, he realized. They just showed everyone else how to be better. In Earth's orbital station, a museum opened, displaying artifacts from the Revolution. But it wasn't filled with weapons or battle plans. Instead, it showed how different species had learned to work together, how shared knowledge had overcome hatred and fear. Some asked why we didn't take over after defeating the Dominators, General Roberts told a group of alien visitors. The answer is simple. We never wanted to rule. We just wanted everyone to be free to rule themselves. Dr. Miller's new Galactic Science Center became a place where beings from all worlds came to share knowledge. The Dominators kept species isolated because they feared what would happen if we worked together, she explained to her diverse team. They were right to be afraid. Together, we're capable of amazing things. As the day's ceremonies ended, Ambassador Gray met with his old friends from Earth in a quiet garden chamber. "Did you know it would turn out like this?" General Roberts asked him. "When you first crashed on Earth." Gray looked out at the stars, now filled with ships from hundreds of worlds flying freely. "I knew humans were special," he said, "but you surpassed all my expectations. You didn't just save yourselves. You saved all of us." A message arrived from Earth's combined defense fleet, now a peacekeeping force that helped protect developing worlds. They had found another young species, just beginning to look at the stars. "What should we do?" the fleet commander asked. The answer came back quickly. Welcome them. Teach them. Help them grow. That's the human way. As the sun set on the Galactic Council world, ships from 100 species flew in formation, their lights painting a message in the sky that could be seen from the surface. Together among the stars, the galaxy had learned its lesson. Don't underestimate humans, not because they're dangerous, but because they'll show you a better way to live.